Sometimes people come into our life for an exact reason. This young man that we're about to present to you has come into our lives to be really a professional and an expert in whatever aspect of life that you're looking for. He is a personal branding expert, right? He's consulted with the United States Federal Trade Commission. He's spoken at Caesar's Palace and other major venues. He helps entrepreneurs, speakers, leaders, and massive audience on Amazon Fire TV. Operator of Newswire magazine. It's incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, please, M. Curtis McCoy. Please give it up.
Appreciate you, Bill.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. Made that awkward.
I did.
We've already heard a couple of good speakers here who have shared some really powerful stories. Do any of you think that your story doesn't matter or there's not a reason for somebody to hear it? Hopefully not. But now that you know your story matters, do you guys know anything about personal branding? Earned media versus paid media? I was on a podcast the other day before you started the camera. That the only reason I had you on the show, we do not like personal branding. You see these people on Instagram, on Facebook, on whatever, standing in front of the rented Lambo, acting like somebody that they're not supposed to be. Can somebody give me a definition of what personal branding is? Like a true, authentic personal brand?
It's what your heart loves to do.
And it's what the world sees you as. Let me tell you a story real quick about when I found out that I'm invisible. So I used to own some retail stores. I had a pharmaceutical company, a cosmetic medical laser clinic, a Christian clothing company, and then owned a few retail cell phone stores. We did a lot of business with international money transfers and also international wireless calling. It was a phone company, was the big business we had. I had one of my buddies who come in, he was born in Mexico, Mexican guy, and I noticed we had a massive percentage of our clients were porting out, leaving, going to this other phone service. And these are friends, family, people we've been to their quinceañeras. Everybody just leaving us from this one ethnic group. So my buddy finally came in and he said, hey, do you realize people are saying that you're a racist and you don't let Mexicans in your store? That's kind of weird. So I asked him if he heard, where he knew about it. He said, yeah, it's this other cell phone store. They're about 35 miles away, but they had launched this international unlimited calling plan, and it was very profitable. So they had started this really successful rumor. Everybody thought I was this racist that wouldn't let Mexicans in my store. So I told my employee, hey, I'm heading up there right now. I jump in the car and I'm thinking on the way up there, and this is 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I guess. I'm thinking, okay, do I go up, punch the guy in the teeth? Do I drag him over the counter, make sure that he understands this is not how we do business? And on the way up there, I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on. I know that we're losing a lot of money on this. So I walk in the store and the guy's helping another couple other customers in there. So I'm looking around, looking at their rate plans, looking at their unlimited calls to Mexico, pretty good rates. I asked the guy, hey, I just came from the Best Cellular store down in Hotchkiss. That was the company name, Best Cellular. Do you know anything about Best Cellular? He goes, oh yeah, that owner of that company is he's not a good guy, he's a racist. Did you know he won't let Mexicans in his store? What a loser. This guy is a terrible guy. So I'm agreeing with him. That guy sounds like a real dirtbag. If this is true, I hope that business shuts down, immediately. Get what you deserve there. So he kept going on and on, just story after story about what a terrible person the owner of Best Cellular was. Not realizing that I was the owner of Best Cellular and he was talking to me face to face. The more that I'm listening to this crazy story, thinking this is not his fault at all. He came up with a good story, him or whoever he heard something from, came up with this good story that was really sucking up a lot of business and generating their store more revenue. So I'm listening to him, I'm thinking, this is my fault. I have not built a personal brand whatsoever. I've built a cosmetic medical laser clinic, a pharmaceutical company, telecommunications company. Not long after that, we had 250,000 customers per month hitting our website. These are not small businesses. But to be standing in the store and hear this guy telling me this rumor, I am the one with the problem here. We were talking about earlier with you guys we know you've all got a message. You can help people. There's a value in people hearing you. Are any of you consciously, intentionally building a powerful personal brand right now? Brigham is. Francis is. I met Francis on the internet. He came over from Florida, seeing him at another event. Brigham, you've been speaking all over the country. I know you've spoken at 4 events in the last month, right? Tawny's doing real good with hers as well. But if you're not building a personal brand, that's basically like every one of us, we realize we got value, we got a message to share that can really help somebody. So if you're not building that personal brand and letting people realize who you want the world to see what you are, if you're not doing that, that's like building the coolest shopping center you have ever seen in the middle of the desert. This thing has got every store, maybe there's car dealerships in there, the coolest place you've ever been. But you build that in the middle of the desert and there's not a road into it. It's not on a map. Nobody has any clue it's even there. You got no way to help people if they can't find you. So people cannot do business unless they know you. They need to basically know, like, and trust you. So if they know you, they're able to find you, and they realize, hey, this is somebody that seems like a good person, somebody I'd like to work with, that's when you get hired. So there's 3 main points. Basically, all media, any exposure you get, is either earned media or paid media. So today we're going to talk just about the earned media side. Earned media is basically anything you're doing to earn recognition or being featured in a magazine, being featured in a local newspaper. We used to host these movie nights. We had this big gigantic movie screen. We'd do movies in the parking lot, have the whole community come outside of one of our retail stores and then show movies for free. We'd have our employees call anonymously and go, hey, did you know, they'd call on the radio stations, the TV stations, saying, hey, did you guys know about the free community-wide movie night this Friday over at Best Cellular? We don't do advertisements. I was just calling you to let you know this is a free thing. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just a cool free deal. They've got popcorn, they've got a taco truck that shows up. And now the news station showed up, or a radio station showing up to publicize and market this free event that we're putting on, which later, now we're sucking up customers because of these cool events that was earned media. It took a lot of work. It didn't cost us anything except for the movie projector. Whole lot of work, whole lot of time. And so starting out, you have to basically focus on earned media, especially if you don't have a product or service to offer yet. If you're trying to get your name out there, having your website. So on your website, how many of you own your own website? Tawny does, Brigham?
It's coming.
Working on it, okay. Francis got his, Bill's got one, Meg. So if you don't have a website yet, that's a big thing that's very important. Do you guys know why search engines exist? If you ask a question, what's their biggest goal?
So you get found.
Answer the world's questions.
Answer the world questions. They're trying to find the best possible answer for the question that you ask, because that first thing leads you to staying on their site longer, clicking more ads, clicking more leads. They generate their money by making sure that your attention is on what they're offering. Same thing with Instagram, with Facebook, with Twitter, any of the social platforms. If the platform is free, you are the product. So when you get on Facebook, you see people talk about the algorithm. Well, the algorithm's pushing me down, my story's not being seen, I'm getting hidden. No, your content probably sucks. Maybe you've got really great lighting, great video, great audio, but if your message isn't powerful or if you don't have a strong hook, you're missing out on that. So your website, if Google's goal is to show the best possible traffic, give me an example, somebody that provides a solution.
Mindset coaching.
Mindset coaching. So Brigham, if your business is mindset coaching, so many coaches get on and they'll build a website that, hi, my name's Brigham, here's my picture, here's stats about me, I'm a coach. And it's a one-page where people only find it if they're searching for your name or they type in your website.com and they get to that site. What if you started putting up tips? Maybe you're already doing this, but daily figuring out, okay, what is a problem that somebody has that I work with often? Now you search that, you see on Google if there's a bunch of competition, there's all kinds of tools you can use too. But if you write an article about self-doubt maybe you've got lack of self-worth, you post an article about overcoming a lack of self-worth. And you've gone through, write a couple thousand word, maybe 1,200 to 2,000 word article where you're adding that key phrase in there multiple times, say 1.5% throughout the article, but you're solving the problem. Now you do that again the next day, and maybe it's about self-doubt, or maybe it's about overcoming childhood trauma. But if you're putting out these articles every single day, the search engines for the first few months are seeing, okay, this is just like every other site on the internet. They're trying to do this blogging thing. But if you're putting out these tips and over again, solving a problem, pretty soon, Google, the search engines are saying, okay, Brigham's website, he provides the solution that our readers are looking for. They get on the site, they're reading the article, they're staying on there for a long time. They don't bounce. If they bounce off, say somebody gets on your site, they look at it for 3 seconds and leave. That means you're messing up, and Google will see if that bounce rate is high. They're not going to be sending traffic to you anymore. So providing an actual solution, and then not trying to sell anything, just over and over and over again, providing value. Another problem you see a lot of times with websites, typically more with new folks, they've got this great website with no way to purchase. I've read 100 different articles over the last couple of years that you've published about mindset. Man, I wish I could work with this guy.
Where do I do?
And so now I Google it, and I'm like, you know what, I've got some extra money in my pocket. I'm going to go ahead and hire a mindset coach. Brigham really inspired me. Okay, Google mindset coaches. Cool, let me pay this guy. But if you're the guy that has got it to where you've cut out those steps, made it to where it's as easy as possible to do business. You guys see Tawny Lee's website. When you go to buy tickets, or say your sponsorship, she walks in and says, hey, would you like to do business? Would you like to go to the conference? They say, yeah. She says, okay, go to tawnylee.com/tickets. You open that up, there's two options. There's a speaker or the attendee. There's not a whole bunch of steps and disclaimers and multiple pages you got to click through. So you want to cut out as many steps as possible, make it to where you can get from them saying, yes, I want to do business, to putting money in your bank account in as few steps as possible. The other thing you do is social media. So maybe you're not somebody who likes to write. I've published hundreds and actually probably thousands of articles over the years. I am not a big fan of writing. I think I've published my 4th book. I'm working on the 5th one. I don't like to write, but it's, again, just doing that work where you're putting in the repetitions to solve a problem. Somebody else give me another example on whatever your business is, besides the mindset coaching.
The event planning.
So event planning. Tawny, what if you got on every day, you get on, what's your favorite platform? Instagram, Facebook, etc.
It's Facebook now.
So Facebook, if you pulled up your phone
Popular now.
and you provided a solution every day, hey, just want to let you guys know, a quick tip on finding a great venue. Here's where you can negotiate your rates with a hotel. Here's something that solves a problem for somebody. If you've been providing value every day on social media with just a short video clip and you're solving a problem about event planning. Now, you've done that over and over and over again. You get people that have never even thought about hosting a conference, that like when you and I met I think it was in Texas we met. But if you've been following this person, Roger Wakefield is a good example of this.
Right.
The YouTube plumber. I have never replaced my own toilet. I've got no reason to watch a plumber, except Roger is ridiculously personable, funny. He's got just good how-to tips and stuff. I'll find myself, if I'm bored, looking at these YouTube plumbing videos because Roger is such a good, he's just providing value over and over again. Now, if I lived anywhere, I mean, he's all over the country now, got different locations and stuff, but if I need to hire a plumber and I Google it, I guarantee if he's anywhere within the business area there, that's gonna be the guy that I hire. If I was a plumber trying to go to a trade school, trying to learn how to plumb, or maybe I wanted to be an apprentice, that's the guy that I'm gonna reach out to because he's put out value over and over. All these different things you might not think about. Hey, did you know that you could have some hidden costs if you have your event catered? Make sure you know exactly what type of food they're gonna provide, what the cost is per sandwich, so you're not paying $38 for a pile of meat and bread. But just tips over and over again. Now you're the expert that they look for when they go to hire somebody. And it's,
Build it doing that.
but I'm saying that's something where I do that all the time, sharing stuff. Here's where I really screwed up. Like, for example, finding out I was invisible because the guy was talking to me thinking that he was talking about somebody else telling me I'm a racist.
Right.
But that was my fault where I had screwed up not building that brand yet. Providing value and then sharing your story. You get your Airbnb. Tell me the name of that again.
Stay B&B.
Stay B&B, and you got the Level On Up podcast. If it was me, I would have the two separate platforms, social, I mean separately, so they know they can search for Brigham, they can search for the Stay B&B business, and kind of keep those separate. You guys have all had that friend, that neighbor, relative, somebody we went to high school with, that's just blasting us every day, all day, talking about this miracle gummy vitamin that they've got that'll cure cancer and diabetes and stupidity, whatever it is.
Right.
I think it's good to have two separate platforms where you'll see on my social, I've got a personal profile where I'll post some good family stuff. And then on the business side, Newswire magazine, it's typically about people who are being featured in Newswire magazine. Tawny's been featured, Bill's been featured, Francis just got featured, we don't have his cover in yet. We just did an interview with Brigham here for Amazon Fire TV and Newswire magazine. But you'll see when the new stuff's coming out. Have you guys seen any of those clips where just really cool social media videos and stuff crawling through, and it's like, but that is a good thing where it's helping the client, but now it's also other people start reaching out and going, holy God, I just saw Brigham's article on the magazine, or I saw it on Amazon Fire TV, I saw the interview. Is there a way I could get featured? So sharing your story is huge, whether that's social media, websites, whatever. Another way to build your brand that doesn't cost a whole lot is either speaking at events or being a podcast guest. Are any of you guys doing paid speaking yet? So are you getting paid to speak at events? I got hired this last summer. I made more to speak for 30 minutes than I had ever made in a month. And that's because you guys can hear me speak. I survived brain cancer. I trip over my words. I forget what I was talking about. But when they searched me, 18 speakers had submitted their application. They Googled us. I was the top guy that showed up for best motivational speaker in Colorado, all these different terms. So who's the guy that they hired? It wasn't the best speaker. It was the guy who had built the personal brand, the guy that was easiest to find. If you're providing a solution, you're not ripping somebody off, but if you're providing a solution and it's affordable, you don't even have to be the best possible solution. I mean, do if you can, but you don't even have to be the best one. If you're the best one, the top one that gets found, you'll have business where you're turning away other clients because you're too loaded down. Speaking of podcast guesting though, you can, if you're not getting paid to speak yet, the event that you and I met at, I think that day I got up, spoke for 10 minutes. Now this is something everybody else at the event is paying to speak there because of my social, the status online as far as people that have been finding me. Not only did I not have to pay for the event, thousands of dollars to speak there, they had me speak for free. I spoke for 10 minutes, got off stage, we did $12,000 in sales from just telling people about the personal branding on the paid media side. So even if you're not getting paid, even if you're paying to be at a conference, if you're speaking, providing a solution, and then making sure that there's some way to monetize that speech, where you're charging for a solution. So you're at Stay B&B, if you're at a conference talking about vacations, you don't have to be there selling vacation packages. You don't have to be paid by the event host to make that a profitable thing for you. Here's a way that you can contact me later. Now you can make money off of that speaking. Actually, probably better than you'll get paid for actually appearing. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And then the other is podcast guesting. You're getting your podcast all set up. Bill's got a podcast. Who else has their own podcast? Meg, you got one too, okay.
It's not launched, it's there.
Nice, okay. So whether you're hosting a podcast or being a guest on a podcast, are any of you making money off the podcast yet? Monetizing that traffic? Anybody know how many downloads you've got? You don't have to share it if it's not is it something where you're getting serious traffic yet, or?
Serious traffic, yeah.
Okay, that sounds small when you're thinking about, okay, a podcast with 16,000 views. Imagine if this room had 16,000 people in it, and they saw you stand up there talking. That is a football stadium full of people who have heard your message. What if we did a video podcast, you and I are talking, did the interview, then you take that, upload it to YouTube. From YouTube, you go down, you can select show transcript, you click the transcript button. Now it pulls up the entire timestamp transcript. Turn off timestamps, copy that, paste it into ChatGPT, and tell it, write me an article, a summary about this podcast. So now, it's got an entire, say you get 1,000, 1,200 word article written about you interviewing me on your podcast. What's your podcast website?
Say that one more time.
What's your podcast website?
It's still connected to Podbean. So
But it's going to be brigham.com, right?
It will be brigham.com/podcast.
So now what if you had brigham.com/M. Curtis McCoy, where you've interviewed me, you interviewed Tawny, brigham.com/Tawny Lee. Now you've got you just went through an article or an interview on her, copy and paste that YouTube URL at the top of the page, then you take that transcript that you've had ChatGPT write into a full article. I mean, obviously you need to go through and tune it up, make sure it looks good, but in about 10 minutes you could have the video at the top, a full written article that's a separate thing from what's being said. It's basically summarizing, highlighting the key points, making it another valuable asset for Google to see. Now, when somebody's Googling Tawny Lee event planner, and you just had her on your podcast interviewing Tawny Lee about event planning. Now, when they Google it, they click that, they're watching through, they see the video, they're reading the text, they can click through from your website to hers. She's getting benefit out of it, but now you're sucking up search traffic for people who would have never seen your podcast or never had any clue that brigham.com even existed. So if you start doing that, if you're doing, how many podcasts are you planning on doing a week?
A week, 1 to 2.
So if you only had one a week, that's 52 people per year, 52 pages of content that are all optimized. You got the website at the top, and now they don't have to be searching for the Level Up podcast or brigham.com. They're Googling anybody's name who you've interviewed. You're providing value, you're providing a good solution where the search engines are going, hey, people get on this, they're watching it, it's not a 3-second thing where they bounce off and go back to find Tawny's site. They watch the entire interview. So the search engines see that, going, wow, Brigham B is the expert on Tawny Lee. So now you keep getting more traffic and it just keeps compounding. That's when you can start selling advertisements on the page, or you could do sponsorships, or I'll see a lot of podcasts, some of the big ones, charge hundreds of dollars to be interviewed. That's because they're providing value, they're providing the search engine traffic. You do the same thing with blogging, but anything where you're providing value over and over and over again, not charging anything for it, just being the solution where people find you and realize that you are the expert. Let's stand up real quick if you guys would. So how many of you think that you've got a story to tell and that your story matters to other people? All of you? Okay. So now if you're not building your personal brand, you're doing just like I did, where that was my fault that they didn't know who I was. How many of you are going to start building your brand? Awesome. How many of you think that being able to reach massive audiences, today we're talking about earned media, tomorrow we'll talk about paid media, where the next step from earned is paid. That's the big step to going from being able to reach a few hundred or a few thousand people at a time to 100,000 plus people a month. Would you have just over 100,000 people read your article the first month it went live? So paid media is the next step, but don't invest in paid media like the services that I offer until you've already done the work that you have to do to get to where there's enough stuff about you online. So repeat after me. My story matters.
My story matters.
I can help people.
I can help people.
I'm going to build my brand.
I'm going to build my brand.
Thanks, guys.